Talkpod. You missed it by this much. But you did some really cool things with this HT that you recently introduced and mass distributed to YouTubers and ham radio operators to get their opinion. I have some opinions. If you're a viewer, subscriber, or just happen to stumble upon this video in the first couple of minutes, I will tell you if you should or shouldn't buy this radio. Most of you shouldn't. Some of you might be interested. The rest of the video is going to be a conversation directly to Talkpod, and I hope they listen. I want to tell them what they got right, and I want to tell them what they didn't get right, and hopes that they fix it. First, I want to say thanks to Mike Whiskey for Oscar Papa Sierra from clubgearonline.com. He provided me with a new mouse pad, a workstation pad, and some stickers. Mike, I'm going to look you up at Hamcation here in a couple of months. Everybody knows what needs to happen to these stickers now. They go on the sticker wall. It's your sticker wall. It's still fairly open. So if you're a YouTuber with stickers, a ham radio operator with stickers, you're a manufacturer with stickers, my address is good on QRZ. Send me your stickers and let's get this wall filled out. So should you buy the Talkpod A36 Plus? There would only be two reasons why you should. One, you like to listen to airband and you live close enough to an airport that you can pick up airband with an HT, and you should be able to do that several miles out. I'm about maybe 20 miles away from the airport as the crow flies. This can pick up airband that far away, but it's really intermittent. It's not a pleasure to listen to. The closer I get to the airport, this does a fantastic job of listening to airband. As good as any HT that I own that costs 12, 13, 14, 15 times this. So it can actually receive really well on airband.
5 go. Sierra, contact departure on 135.5, 35.5. 35.5, have a good day. 5 go, Sierra. Good morning, American 2020, we're ready for launch. 2020, table tower, runway 1 left, clear for takeoff. Clear for takeoff, 1 left, American 2020.
So if you want to buy something that's inexpensive because you live close to an airport and you enjoy listening to airband, program in all the airband frequencies, put it on scan, and you have an airband scanner. Good, inexpensive airband scanner. Check. If you're a ham radio operator and you like anything new that comes along and you have to have it even if it has major flaws, well, it's inexpensive. Go ahead and buy it. Those are the only two reasons you should buy this radio. You shouldn't buy this radio if you're a new ham radio operator, a new GMRS operator, unless you're using it for that airband scanning. This thing puts out spurious emissions like nothing we've ever seen. And you, once you're transmitting on one frequency, are transmitting on multiple frequencies. Do not buy this dirty radio if you want to talk on the various frequencies in the ham bands or the GMRS bands. Ah, Bob. Spurious schmurious. Who cares about spurious emissions? Now listen, I was there early in my ham way of life. I really didn't understand what that meant. I've become a little bit more educated by listening to others that are more experienced to me, and I appreciate what they have put out there for us to learn from. The Smokin' Ape has talked about this radio in particular. Ham Radio Crash Course has actually shown on his channel recently what these spurious emissions can do, how far outside the band they can go. Do we really care? Does it really matter? Well, for me, I do know this. If ever my wife or one of my grown children or one of my grandchildren needs emergency responders to come to their aid, the last thing I want is some cheap radio that I picked up or that you picked up interfering with their frequencies where they're transmitting and talking and discussing how to care for my loved ones. And keying up on a radio like this can send your transmission far outside of the frequencies of GMRS and ham bands and interfere with first responders. Not cool in my opinion. For the prepping community, again, I know when I first got into ham radio, and even before I was in ham radio, but I owned one, I thought, who cares about spurious emissions? Get yourself a UV5R, buy them for all of your friends, buy them for all the people that you're prepping with. Now you all have inexpensive gear that you are prepared for an emergency, a true SHTF situation. In a true SHTF situation, you do not want people finding you. You want a small footprint. And when you key up on the frequency on the screen of this radio, your transmission has gone across multiple frequencies and you have given yourself a very large footprint and people can find you more easily. We don't want that. This is why spurious emissions matter. So other than spurious emissions, which is reason enough alone to not buy this radio, you've got a poor front end filtering situation. And the Smokin' Ape talks about this on his video, where you can actually cause this radio to just shut down and malfunction by having a strong signal adjacent or close to it that overpowers the radio. And what you want to hear, you will no longer hear. I don't understand all the science behind that, but it is typical of these types of radios. Well, Bob, what are the good things? What are the things that you actually like about this radio? You said you had some good things for Talkpod. And I do want to say some good things about this because Talkpod does need to be congratulated and encouraged where they did something good. The size and form factor of this radio is fantastic. It's as small as, if not smaller than, a UV5R, and yet it is feature-packed and attractive. It's a more modernized look to the humble UV5R. And this crystal polymer? Talkpod reached out to me about the same time they did all the YouTubers to get exposure on this new radio. And I said, send me the clear one and I will be happy to do a review for you. Well, now I am doing this review. I'm telling you whether you should or shouldn't buy it. I'm spending more time talking to Talkpod. I have the green version here and the clear polymer here. The clear polymer is just awesome looking. And speaking of awesome looking, would you look at this color screen? This color screen is phenomenal for a radio of this cost. So that's a great thing. I've already talked about the airband and turning this into an airband scanner. For that cost, this is an excellent airband scanner. Let's talk about this No Tools assembly clip. And all you large manufacturers out there, you should be paying attention to this. No tools required. This clip just slides down inside. Did you hear that snap and click? And there, it's in place. I am not a huge belt clip fan. I normally like a pouch, or I like to put my radio in a go bag. But now with this clip that's easy to take on and off, well, maybe I actually don't mind using that belt clip because it's easily removable. Let me show you how easy it is to remove. So here's the battery from the green one. I've already put it in place. And the way that you do this is just simply pull on this clip and out it comes. There's this little snap button right here. And that little snap button is what clips into place, and then that's what you depress to pull the clip off the battery. Talkpod, phenomenal. Good job. The next thing we should congratulate Talkpod on is USB-C. How many of us are converting to USB-C? I certainly am. As much as I can get a USB-C adapter for my radios, that's what I want. Nice job on the USB-C charging on the battery. We'll come back to this because this is also something that I think they got wrong. You'll understand that in just a couple of minutes. This is a chirp compatible radio, so they did that right, making sure that we're chirp compatible. And the price, I'm not hating the price on this. That doesn't make me mad. The price is awesome. So if they got that spurious emissions thing taken care of, then I would really be able to recommend this radio. And I think this is what they need to hear from me and other YouTubers and users. As more of us become concerned about spurious emissions and refuse to promote radios with spurious emissions, at least that's my position, you know what? It's hindering sales. If you would just take care of these spurious emissions, you would have a slam dunk. You would have every YouTuber out there. Okay, maybe not every YouTuber. All the YouTubers that are saying today, don't buy this because of the spurious emissions, would turn around and go, buy this. I would, and I think a lot of others would as well. So what did they get wrong? Well, back to this USB-C location. I don't know about you, but I don't typically sit in my shack with my HT laying flat on my desktop. I sit in my shack and my HT is sitting on the bottom. Well, that's not going to work if I've got my USB-C connector to it. Now, I honestly don't know. I would have to look this up. I don't know if it's in the manual or not. I don't know if they want you having this connected to your USB-C while they are using it. I think that's something else that all the HT manufacturers need to overcome. We want our radios powered while we're using them. And that way, if you put the USB-C on the side of the battery, the side of the radio, I can have my HT sitting in my shack so I can see it with my eyes while having it plugged in and charging. That's what I want in my HT. Now, there is some attention to detail missing with Talkpod, and let me show you what I mean. Listen, I got to pull this a little bit close to my microphone. All right, I don't know Mandarin. They knew they were sending this to me, an American that speaks English. I admire individuals that are multilingual. I admire Chinese individuals who've learned English in addition to Mandarin, their native language, and have learned other languages. I think that's impressive. Anyone who is multilingual, hats off to you. But Talkpod knew they were sending this to me and the green radio to me, and what they sent me was a radio that speaks Mandarin. So could I go through the menu system and find that feature and change it to English? Of course I could. But if you're going to send a YouTuber who's going to do a review, a radio, don't you think you would have taken the time, paid some attention to detail, and make sure that it came to him in his native language? I think that would have been the smart thing to do. Now, don't mistake me and think I'm becoming all snobbish because they didn't take the time to program my radio in English. My point is that they knew they were sending this to a reviewer and they didn't pay attention to the detail to make sure that it came to him in his language. What other details are they missing when they're preparing your radio? You should be paying attention to details, Talkpod. We're consumers. We want people paying attention to details. Create a reputation for yourself that you're listening and paying attention, and you're sending out things that are 100% quality. That's what I mean by that statement. And talk about attention to detail. Here is the Amazon marketing for the A36 Plus. Talkpod A36 Plus GMRS radio, ham walkie-talkie. Well, is it a GMRS radio? Is it a ham radio? Is it a walkie-talkie? Which is it? And if you look at the packaging itself, it says on the packaging that it is a GMRS radio. But if you look at the label here on the side, it says that it is a ham walkie-talkie. Now, I don't know about you, but growing up as a little boy, I certainly enjoyed playing with walkie-talkies. And a walkie-talkie is not something you need a license to operate. If you're operating GMRS or ham, you need a license. Is it a walkie-talkie? If you have some consumer going on to Amazon and doesn't know the laws of the FCC or some other country, and they see the word walkie-talkie, are they going to assume that this is a radio that they can purchase off of Amazon and put it up to their face and key it up and be talking legally? I don't think that's good marketing. That's not paying attention to detail. A new ham radio operator, a new GMRS operator who doesn't necessarily know the band plan that well. Listen, I still refer to the band plan chart frequently. I've been a ham radio operator for years. I don't tend to fill my mind with things that I can read on a wall or Google. I don't feel the need to do that. I've deleted enough childhood memories out of my early life so I could fill it up with more ham. I don't have all the frequencies memorized. So a new user that doesn't have the band plans memorized, if they're a ham operator but not a GMRS licensed operator, and this thing is on GMRS, which it can do because some radios have come from Talkpod fully open, they could be transmitting for something that they're not licensed in. So Talkpod, love the flexibility of your radio. It's fantastic that this radio can be in multiple bands. It can be a GMRS radio. It can be a ham radio. But let's be a little bit more specific and accurate and correct in the marketing. That's something that I think is a flaw, in my opinion. An experienced operator will not be tripped up by this. A novice could be transmitting without a license, thinking it's a walkie-talkie. A GMRS user who is a novice could be transmitting in ham bands, not realizing what they're doing. A ham operator who doesn't understand GMRS could be transmitting in GMRS without a license. Poor marketing. Get the package right, get the label right, make sure the radio comes locked to the frequencies that are consistent with the packaging markings. And then I think possibly, well, just two final thoughts. This battery cradle. This cradle is clunky, and here's what I mean by that. We have this tiny little radio, right? We have this small form factor radio. It's cool looking. And then, if you put this cradle up next to a lot of other cradles of even larger radios, it's big, it's clunky. In comparison to the radio, it's disproportionate. Now, that's, is that being a little bit, too harsh, Bob? Well, maybe. But then let's just take it one more step. Do we really want the cord permanently attached to our cradle? I don't. I have a dozen plus other HTs, not a single one does this. You don't make it onto my wall of fame as an HT like this, because my cradles have to stick up close to the wall where my metal pegboard is, and then I have to put a right angle adapter on it to get the cable to it. I can't do this with this cradle. Yes, I'm being a little bit picky, but I think you need to do a better job here. Talkpod, not interested in this cradle. Back to the USB-C. If you go and you put the USB-C on the side of the radio or on the side or back of the battery, we don't even need the cradle. Get rid of the cradle completely. And now my final thought on the Talkpod. So there have been a number of YouTubers who've put this thing on a nano VNA or similar device and shown just how dirty this thing is, how bad the spurious emissions are. I stay in contact with a lot of those ham radio operators and YouTube presenters and reviewers. Not a single one of them has told me that Talkpod has reached out to them and said, oops, our bad, we want to fix that. We're sending you a new radio with those spurious emissions removed. They haven't taken the step to do that. So Talkpod, at this point in time, you apparently think it's okay to be sending radios that cause people to use them illegally. I don't think that's okay. I hope you're listening to me. I hope you've listened to some of the other YouTubers who've talked about this, and I hope you get this thing clean. You get this clean, and even though the front end receive isn't that great, there's going to be a lot of us that say, for $50, $45, it's a slam dunk. Go ahead and buy it. All right, if you've been eavesdropping, you're not Talkpod, but you've been following along, thanks for your time, friend. These are my opinions. I hope they're useful to you. And if you don't agree, that's fine. Just think about what I've said. Feel free to comment below. Be nice about it, and I'll consider your opinions as well. Talkpod, you missed it by this much, but you got a lot right. Go back, fix these spurious emissions, get rid of this clunky cradle. I'll tell people to buy it. Talk to you soon, friend. 73.